Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen we're making a fluffy, flavorful banana cake. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350 so it's nice and hot, and you're gonna wanna grab 4 to 5 ripe bananas. These are right on the cusp of being okay for baking and okay for eating. You could have them be on the rotting side, and that's totally fine. It's like the older the better. Peel your bananas, and I'm gonna mash them up into a measuring cup. Ooh, these smell so good, they're very ripe. Give them a good mash. If you don't have really ripe bananas, grab a regular yellow to greenish banana and bake it at 350 for 10 minutes. This will soften it, break down the sugars, and make it perfect for baking with. And if you want to make this cake, but you only had 3 bananas or 4 small bananas and it's not enough for 2 cups, just add some applesauce or crushed pineapple and it'll be totally fine. We really just want that natural, beautiful flavor to come through and add a lot of delicious moistness without using oil. We will use oil for this cake, but it's lessened by the bananas. By the way, if you hear any weird noises, it's the rainstorm we're in. It is crazy. There's sheets of rain pouring down, which means it's a perfect day for baking. My bananas are all mashed up, so I'm gonna transfer this to a larger bowl and add in some more wet ingredients. For a little contrast and acidity, I'm adding a tablespoon of lemon juice and half a cup of room temperature or warm milk. Give that a mix so it's nice and combined, and now set aside and get those dry ingredients together. In another bowl, I'm adding 3.5 cups or 420 grams of all-purpose flour. I'm using a scale for best results, but if you're using measuring cups, fluff your flour up and sprinkle it into your measuring cup and then level it off with a knife. Don't scoop. For some flavor, I'm adding a teaspoon of cinnamon. You could use your favorite spices. I could see allspice, cardamom, mace, nutmeg. Anything you like, just add the right amounts. So go for 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. To puff things up, I'm using 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda. I'm also adding in 1 teaspoon of salt, and I do need to do a salt video. It sounds so boring, but the salt you use really makes a difference. That's for another video though. My scale's done for the moment. Set that aside, grab a whisk, and a copy of my new cookbook. Get all those dry ingredients really well mixed. You don't want to have a mouthful of baking soda. Blech. Your cake wouldn't be well risen or evenly risen, and bites of it would taste really horrible. By the way, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new videos every single week, tons of shorts, and always something delicious on the horizon. We're gonna set this aside, and now it's time to grab either a stand mixer with a paddle attachment or a large bowl in your hand mixer. In the bowl of my stand mixer, I'm adding 1 cup or 226 grams of softened, unsalted butter. Softened just means that it is room temperature, so with just a little bit of pressure, I can create an indent and the butter can bend really nicely. It's not gonna break. Pop that butter in, zero your scale out, and now we're gonna add 1.5 cups or 300 grams of granulated sugar. Sugar is actually considered a liquid in recipes, so you could totally use a regular measuring cup if you wanted to. And 1 cup or 220 grams of light brown sugar. That's 1 cup packed or 220 grams if you're using your scale like I am. And I always crumble my sugar up because it's always full of little lumps and I don't like mixing those. It interferes with your light and fluffy, delicious vibe. Everything's in here for now, so we're gonna pop this onto our mixer and we're gonna mix this on medium-high for 3 to 4 minutes until it is light and fluffy, and you might have to scrape the bowl down. Just keep an eye on it. All right, let's take a look. That looks very nice and fluffy, so we can add our eggs in. Reduce your speed to medium, and we're gonna add the eggs in 1 at a time. Wait for the first egg to incorporate before adding the next. If you just dump them all in, it kind of creates a mess and it makes it harder to get a nice uniform, homogeneous consistency. About halfway through, it's a good idea to scrape your bowl down because that egg tends to stay on top. Once I examine the bowl, I can see the bottom is lighter in color and denser, which means there's no egg there. Now we can continue adding. All right, I'm adding in my last of 4 eggs. Once your final egg's in, we can add 1 tablespoon or 15 mils of vanilla. This will give us a lovely flavor to pair with the banana. If you're wondering where banana cake came from the Depression. We needed to use everything at hand, including really old rotten bananas. So you could incorporate that, make a delicious cake that was really simple. And because you're using the bananas, you'd use less of that really valuable, more expensive butter. This looks whipped to perfection. Take a look at this consistency. Beautiful. Let's get this one final scrape before we go on to our next step, including the top of your paddle, which can accumulate some nonsense. It's time to complete our batter. We're gonna alternate in 3 batches the flour with our banana mixture, starting and ending with the flour. So add 1/3 of that in, roughly. Mix on low. Pour in some of the banana mixture, half of it. Stop it. If you're wondering why we're going back and forth, it's just so we can get a really nice mixture without overbeating the flour. If we added the bananas in all at once, it would break that butter mixture and the consistency just wouldn't be as nice. Back to mixing on low, and we're gonna add the rest of the banana in. And the last bit of flour. Mix on low until it's almost combined, and give it a stop. Still streaks of flour, but that's okay. One of the most common mistakes making cakes at home is just over-mixing the batter. You could do everything perfectly up to this point, but you just run the mixer a little bit too long and you activate the proteins or gluten in the flour and it becomes really gummy and dense and it changes the consistency and even the way the cake itself tastes. The way it dissolves on your palate is different and it's not as nice. So stop the mixer when you still see streaks of flour and then just use your spatula to fold everything in while you scrape the bottom of the bowl. And that way it'll be fluffy, melt in your mouth, amazing. That looks gorgeous. Grab a 9x13" baking pan and you have a couple choices. You could just use some baking spray, but if you want your cake to come out for serving, which I do, just grab a sheet of parchment paper and pop it in here to make a little cradle. You don't have to fully line your baking sheet, but this way, once your cake is done and totally cooled, you can pull it out and it's easier to cut and serve, in my humble opinion. Metal clips, just to hold things down. Transfer your batter to your lined pan. Now we're gonna use an offset spatula just to smooth things out so it has a nice level start and it'll bake up really evenly. And by the way, this is the banana cake I like. It's plain and simple with a beautiful frosting, but if you wanna add mix-ins, have at it. I could say maybe like 3/4 of a cup of toasted walnuts or pecans would be nice in here. You could add the same amount of chocolate chips or both and the cake would be delicious. Our cake is ready to go into the oven, 350 for 55 to 60 minutes or until a skewer inserted in the middle comes out clean. Once it's done, we're gonna make our amazing frosting. In you go. My banana cake's almost cooled, so it's time to make some easy, delicious cream cheese frosting. Into the bowl of my stand mixer, fitted with a paddle attachment, I'm adding an 8-ounce block of softened cream cheese. You might be able to see this is very nice and gooey soft. So plop that right in. The same thing for my 1/2 of a cup or 113 grams of unsalted butter. It's softened and if you can see, it's really nice and pliable. Plop the butter into your bowl as well. And we're gonna beat this on medium speed for about 2 minutes until it's creamy and well combined. Feel free to scrape the bowl down as necessary. You do not wanna have any unmixed nonsense at the bottom. My cream cheese and butter are well combined, so it's time to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract for flavor and mix that on medium until just combined. Now we're gonna add 4.5 cups-ish of powdered sugar. You could add less, you could add more. It's sweetened to taste. If you wanted unflavored cream cheese and butter with vanilla on top, it's your cake and you can make that happen. But I would add in like 2 cups and then start tasting it and see how you like it. So it's perfect for you. You don't have to worry about the consistency because the sugar will immediately soften the cream cheese and butter so it looks like frosting. And we're not stacking anything on top, so it could be as loose as you like. Mix on low to medium low so you don't have any cloud of sugar popping out. Continue mixing and we're gonna scrape the bowl down right after this because I can tell there is not enough sugar at the bottom and too much on top. By the way, if you have a mixture like this and the beater is not going low enough or it's too low and it's clicking against the bowl, there's a little screw right in there and you can adjust that so that your beater will be at the perfect height. I'm at 3.5 cups. I'm gonna add an extra 1/2 cup and call it a day. Once everything's fully incorporated, you can increase to medium and beat for 1 minute so the frosting is really nice and fluffy. My frosting is silky smooth, so it's time to grab an offset spatula and get to swooping. You can serve your cake in the pan, but I always like to remove it and plop it onto some new parchment paper. Scoop your frosting up, and we're gonna plop it right on top. This cake, by the way, can be frozen, frosted, or unfrosted for up to 3 months, just to frost overnight in your fridge. It's gonna be so good to have a delicious treat that you can pull out of the freezer. You can smooth this into an even layer or give it some swoops. Either way, it's gonna be delicious. When you do this, it makes it look like there's so much frosting, even if you have just a nice thin coating. You can garnish your cake with a sprinkle of cinnamon, some banana coins, or just give it a cut and it's ready to enjoy. That cake is full of banana flavor with a fluffy, melt in your mouth consistency and a luscious cream cheese frosting that just dissolves on the palate. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and check out my easy cake playlist.